So my name is Dr. Christopher Diaz. I'm a professor of music at Allen Hancock College, and I am running for the City Council seat for the Northwest District of, or District 1.
And is this your first attempt at public office?
It is, yes.
And so why did you decide to pursue it?
The thing that inspired me the most was meeting the people of this community. As a teacher, I meet students who are young adults looking to start their careers and get involved in something they're passionate about. And one of the first things that struck me was that as soon as they're educated or as soon as they finish their degrees or certificates, they're looking to leave the community and looking for opportunity elsewhere. And to me, that just kind of felt kind of sad that they were as soon as we get them educated and trained and talented, that our most talented local kids are exported off to other places. So my main goal was to get opportunities going for the young adults that want to start a career that don't feel as though they have to leave or get out of town. And I have children that I'm raising here, so I just kind of want to make the city a little bit more, have a little bit more hope, I guess, for opportunities and things like that.
For the future generation?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. From your perspective, and you do have a unique perspective being on college campus and meeting and working with all these young people, from where you stand, what are the key changes to the city that need to be made or should be made?
I would like to see the city invest in itself and try to be a little bit more proactive about things where the free market hasn't filled the voids of activities and products that, or I guess ideas that haven't come to the city as quickly as I would like. So right now we have one of the largest cities in the Central Coast, and we all leave on the weekend to do things for entertainment, for leisure. So I would like for the city to kind of invest in itself, to have more things for the residents to do, more things for our youth to do. One thing I hear a lot about is juvenile delinquency, and I think a lot of people don't realize that this community requires some parents to work 2 and 3 jobs, and it's not a matter of being a bad parent or being an absent parent. It's just there's not enough hours in the day. So where there's problems like that, I think the community should come together and provide things for the kids and for them to stay out of trouble and to get involved with other things other than what they're doing right now.
Okay. Can you cite maybe specifically like housing or higher paying jobs, more career-oriented jobs? I mean, the college is doing its part, right?
Right.
They're doing everything they can.
Right.
And to the extent of even offering basically free tuition, right?
Yes,
books.
Absolutely. I think that we need to think about the transition that Santa Maria is going through as from a small city to a larger city. It's always kind of challenging for an older generation to see that move, but once you go from that smaller town to somewhat of a mid to larger sized town, you need to have more public servants, more employees doing things on behalf of the city, more people hired to work for the city to provide more services. So, I wasn't here 20, 30, 40 years ago, but I imagine when Santa Maria was smaller, it was easier to not address those things. But as we grow and we have so much potential for future growth, I think the city needs to adapt by being willing to hire more people at rates that are affordable to live here and can buy the housing and live in the city. And they also need to invest in things that will bring tourism to the city that can make the businesses that are here grow and be more profitable.
So big supporter of small business.
Big supporter of small business, and I really think our #1 resource is our geography. So we're right in between the north and southern parts of this huge state, and there's tons of kids out there that are competing in soccer games and sporting events and fine arts events, and we could be that midpoint. We could be that meeting ground, and we could develop interstate tourism. So my ideas are more about maybe a soccer complex or a plaza that can be converted into all kinds of events. That way we can try to make use of where we're located, and as we were just saying, the drive up here is beautiful. Like, why wouldn't people want to just come to Santa Maria? We got to give them a reason to come, and lots of times it's their kids or their extracurricular activities that force them to travel throughout the state. So I think we could use our location and maximize that a lot more than we're doing right now.
To the extent that you've been in the city for a relatively short period of time, but you certainly know a lot about it, do you think Santa Maria has a problem with race relations, racial inequality or equality, or social justice?
Well, I'm from Texas, and so I'm going to be biased by how things are in Texas versus a city like California. So I see things from a perspective that look immensely better from where I'm from. That doesn't mean those problems don't exist, and that doesn't mean that racism doesn't. It's just a disgusting part of society that taints a lot of things that could be a lot better. From my personal experience, I think that Santa Maria may have a lot of classist issues where people are divided by accessibility to resources and education, and I think lots of times those do happen to fall along racial lines. And when you look at how much value this community gets from the agriculture industry, you have to think more highly of the people that are providing that value. So right now I know that a large group of our population are migrant field workers, and you know, it's easy to discount their value, but when you look at how huge agriculture is to the economy out here, you have to, you know, give something back in return for that. So if we do have any racial issues, unfortunately from a city councilman standpoint, you can't legislate people's hearts and you can't change the way people behave. But what we can do is we can try to approach systematic issues where maybe tax money hasn't gone to specific neighborhoods equally, or maybe programs have not been designed to meet everyone's needs in the community equally. So what I would like to do is try to analyze data that we can prove where specific populations have been purposely ignored, and then try to make a more even playing field so those issues that cause racism to begin with can kind of be dealt with from a community standpoint at a base level.
Well, that leads to my next question, which is, do you support redirecting or perhaps even defunding city budget funding away from public safety and to other departments in the city?
It's interesting because my perspective on that is shaped by being a teacher. And as a teacher, I always believe that we work in the same field as the police. It's our job to make sure the kids get educated and find something that doesn't lead them to the back of a police car. So if we're going to look at those type of things, I don't want it to be just defund this or just go that. I would like to do things that actually improve the quality of life here. So hiring more teachers, lowering the teacher to student ratio so that kids have a better relationship with the people that are usually the #1 representative of the city to that child. The child doesn't know the police officers, they don't know their city councilman, they know their teacher. And if the teacher can have a better relationship by having less students in their class, I think those kinds of decisions can help every aspect of public safety without only focusing on police. So public safety to me is not just policing, it's an entire program that's designed to keep the kids from getting to that stage. Policing should be our last effort at trying to reach that person. We should do everything we can before we get to that point.
The concept of community policing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And that's one thing that I learned when I talked to the people in my neighborhood when I went looking for signatures. A lot of people don't know a police officer. They don't know anyone personally. I don't know if there's any that live in our neighborhood that actually police our neighborhood. I think little changes like that are the first step to creating new communication lines where people have trust and they feel like they can call their police. We were just talking about this city growing. You know, small cities used to have the kind of relationships where you just knew the police officer that lived on your block. And we need to have more of that and less of that fear and confrontation. So I'm all about opening up communication channels so that, you know, the people of the community understand that what the police want is essentially what they want. And if we could find common ground, we could probably approach those problems together.
Obviously, the pandemic has been a kind of a wild card variable for everything that we do now. I mean, it's affecting all aspects of life, not just here in Santa Maria, but all around the country and around the world.
Right.
From your vantage point, and based on your experience so far, clearly it's impacted how you do your work and reach out and stay contacted with your students. But, you know, is Santa Maria getting hit particularly hard from your point of view? I mean,
from my point of view, I'm very privileged to work at Hancock, and we have our ways of working around the internet, like you said. But what I'm worried about are the people that are going to be hitting that point soon where they're not going to be able to pay their mortgage or they're not going to be able to pay their rent. You know, to me, the thing that I worry the most about is the community as a whole. And, you know, as insulated as someone like myself or some other people in this community that work at Hancock or places that are less affected, I'm still a part of this community, and as soon as the whole community starts to suffer, it will eventually get to me. So I think that what we need to do is be mindful of the protocols that come out from scientists and doctors. I'm the kind of person that believes in data and research. Obviously, I'm a professor, and I think that anything that we can do to mitigate the problem and collectively help make things better is a responsibility that we should all take seriously, simply because you know, even if you're healthy and your entire neighborhood is sick, you can see how that doesn't really help you very much. So we need to think a little bit more community minded, and all the little steps that we're given, I think that we need to treat them as important instead of just suggestions that are coming from people that have spent their whole lives studying these types of things.
Also, there's been some talk and some very serious concern conversations about what's going to happen with this generation of kids, either at the elementary level, junior high level, or high school level. This whole remote distance learning, virtual classrooms, that type of thing. What impact that's going to have a few years or several years down the road in terms of their development and their education. Are you concerned about that?
Well, I'm the kind of person that looks at everything as an opportunity. So yes, COVID is terrible. COVID is a horrible thing that's changed the entire face of our country. But when I'm teaching classes, I'm always telling my students that this may be the future of commerce and industry and how we deal with business and all kinds of things. So I think that the best thing to do is to always be adaptable. Historically, the populations that are unwilling to change with whatever comes their way are the ones that suffer the most. And so what I would like to do is integrate the possible future of online business and commerce into education, so kids realize this may be the way you do school for a while, and in the future this may be a big part of how you do business, simply because these types of things are so unpredictable and we have to be able to adapt to them at any moment.
And finally, are district elections good for Santa Maria, and if so, why?
Well, I followed the entire process when they went through trying to get that passed in the city. So far, I would have to say I think it's a good thing, because as far as I know, the north side, or the area where I'm trying to represent, has not had representation for some time. Obviously, it's nice to have the ability to vote at large for multiple city council members several times, you know, over 2 years, and I understand that some people would miss that. But at the same time, I think that if we have people that are collectively looking at the city as a whole, and people working together to try to make the best decisions from the quadrants or the sections that they've been set up, I think we can get a lot more done, and that we could have a much more diverse perspective that helps get the community better represented with decisions that are made with regards to spending and the dispersion of tax funds.